Oh, hold on. Welcome to the Steph and Alex show. It's a pleasure to be here and thank you for joining us. I am joined by the wonderful, lovely Stephanie Holland today. And Stephanie is in Australia where it's really warm. So we're gonna come to Stephanie in a second. And we're going to talk a little bit about our theme for this evening. So if you haven't joined us before, my name's Alex Inchboard. I'm an extreme artist and creative mentor, and I get to paint in extreme locations all over the world to see what's required to be creative everywhere. And then I share the insights that I learn with some of the leaders, both in organizations and individuals, to help them tap into their creativity and tackle their biggest challenges. And I'm joined this evening by the one and only Stephanie Holland, who has recently disappeared from the fair British Isles all the way down to Australia. And I wonder why in the middle of winter. I don't want to know exactly how warm it is, Steph. Well, I kind of do, because I kind of want to know. It's what, 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning your time? How early are we?
It's 6 a.m. and it's temperate.
Temperate. All right. Well, I won't tell you that I went skiing today in -5 degrees centigrade. You know, I won't talk about that as long as you don't talk about how warm it is in your temperate climate wherever you are. So Stephanie Holland, let me give you a short introduction to you, and then you can correct me and tell me something more amazing about yourself. So Stephanie Holland is the founder of the Freedom Philosophy, which is a program which is all about freedom and finding your freedom and designing your freedom lifestyle, which I think is absolutely extraordinary. And many of us would aspire to doing that. So if you would like to join Stephanie, well, not her personally, but if you'd like to have a similar lifestyle where you are free as a bird and you get to go to the beach every day and get up and jump onto blabs like this with me and have fun, you need to be checking out Stephanie's new program. So that's a formidable program, and I really like it. So Stephanie, how are you? How is life?
I'm really well. I'm very excited to start this year, and January has kicked off to an amazing start. And I noticed why I suggested this title to you. There's a lot of people around me who are already feeling frantic. So I just wanted to share some ideas and inspiration about how to keep all your sort of like mental faculties sharp and your inspiration high and not to get too overwhelmed by everything.
Cool. So tell us exactly what is the theme that we're going to be talking about this evening?
How to keep cool when we're feeling overwhelmed.
Wow. Well, you know, the simplest way for me to keep cool while we're feeling overwhelmed is literally to walk outside, because there's snow right outside at the moment. So that will keep me cool. But I don't think that's the kind of cool that you're talking about, is it?
No, because what I do when I'm hot is I stand in front of my fan for an hour and I'm still hot. So we need to find another way to keep cool, Alex.
Okay, well, let's work on that. So this is our first show of the year. We haven't had a show this year yet. It's great to see you. I know you were away over the break. Just describe where you were for us, just so we can get a feel of what a freedom lifestyle looks like. Where were you for the new year? Talk to us about that.
Well, my partner and I went to a giant sand island called Fraser Island off the east coast of Australia. And we basically camped in the bush for a week. And there were no showers or toilets close by, although we did drive to some twice during the week so that we could have a hot shower. Otherwise, we were camping under the stars in our tent. It was a bit stormy sometimes, but it was mostly sunny and hot. And we just cooked on the campfire every night and just enjoyed the bush, really.
Wow.
Although that's not exclusive to a freedom lifestyle, because that is so close. It's only a 20-minute ferry ride from the coast. So that's kind of like available to everybody who lives in that area. But just the fact that I was able to go this year so easily and without even thinking about it, I was able to disconnect completely from my work because I prepared to do so. I was offline and off the internet and off Facebook and everything for an entire week. And I think that is kind of the special thing that I'm able to do that differentiates a freedom lifestyle from a non-freedom lifestyle.
Got it. So I mean, you know, that place sounds amazing. Fraser Island, a island, just a sand island, and you get to go there, disconnect from the world. I can see myself almost lying there, disconnecting from the world. I tell you what, though, the one thing that I would have struggled with is no showers. I kind of would have struggled with it. I don't know. You can call me a woman if you like, but I don't know. I've kind of got used to my creature comforts. You know, I went skiing today, and I need to have a shower before I went skiing and a shower after I got back from skiing. That's how much I love my showers.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a DIY shower. You take a bottle of water behind a tree with you, and you just splash yourself. So what I was talking about was just having, you know, hot, like proper showers that kind of, you know, cover your entire body. But there's no reason you can't stay clean and refreshed even when you're in the bush. We took water with us, plenty of water.
So look, let's get onto the theme before we make anyone slightly more jealous. Apart from walking outside to cool down and going to somewhere like Fraser Island, you know, this is a theme that obviously is close to your heart. And likewise, you know, we've all kicked off this year, and the world seems to be moving faster than ever. I thought at the end of last year, things would begin to slow down. And, you know, over the break, I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to have a whole week just with the family. It's going to be wonderful. And I got back here from my trip to the UK, and things were still moving. And then 5th of January, things just started to take off. Couldn't believe it. And they've been running at breakneck speed ever since then, and really, really fast. And they seem to be getting faster, not slower. So, and I heard you saying at the beginning of the show, at the top of the show, that you're finding the same thing, that there are, you know, even in the paradise place that you are, that people are people seem to be moving faster and faster. Do you want to talk us through that a little bit?
Well, I think what's happening, and we had a chat about this a little bit before Christmas when we talked about resolutions and how people get all these ideas that they're going to do this, this, and this in the new year. And then the new year comes, and then by mid-January, they haven't started anything yet, or they realize that they've bitten off more than they can chew, or committed to more than they can chew. And they start to feel overwhelmed and behind already. And then there's this sort of mental, emotional, perhaps even sort of spiritual mad scramble to go panic. And then there's this paralysis that happens. Mm. So that's kind of what I sort of feel and see in the people around me. What is it that you're sort of seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing something very similar. I'm seeing a lot of people already losing their heads. A lot of people already being overwhelmed. You know, just literally a few weeks after Christmas, you know, that long, wonderful break that we have, and into the new year. And, you know, that's a year really to rest, to recuperate, to recover, to eat an awful amount of food, and to drink an enormous amount of alcohol. And, you know, I did that. Well, not so much on the alcohol and not so much on the food, but I did certainly do the rest and recover. And I came back thinking, okay, the first couple of weeks are going to be really, really easy. But I just observed how people started to get into it really, really fast. And I think what I've seen this year in particular is so many courses talking about how to, and webinars talking about how to make this year, 2016, a really, really impactful year. And lots of coaches doing it, lots of programs online doing it. And frankly, I think people are just bored of it. And, you know, like, you know, they're bored of talking about intentions and resolutions and vision boards and this and that. And so it's not just that people have speeded up. It's just that people are just kind of completely disillusioned with the whole idea of doing, you know, another intention session and another, let's do this for 2016. Yeah, we know 2016 is going to be a really, really powerful year. It's going to be a massively transformational year. I totally buy that. And 5th of Jan, I had Daniel Geordie on the program on my Tuesday Blad, the Break Free Creativity Show. And I had him on, and he was talking about something very similar, actually, which is how do you really focus and how do you get the most out of this year without doing something that within a couple of weeks of the beginning of the year just seems impossible and totally overwhelming and depressing, that you've only done it once, or you haven't done it at all, or you don't think you can keep it up even if you've kept it up. So I'm seeing a lot of that going on at the moment, a kind of almost a disillusionment with the coaching side of things, and particularly the resolution side of things, and a kind of, oh my God, we're already back where we were at the end of last year, and we don't know how to tackle it, and we don't know how to make it different. Does that ring bells with you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why, for me personally, I launched my course in November, and I'm going to do another big launch in sort of the end of February and March to kind of avoid that whole period, because I think it's really nice to allow people to just either prepare in advance for the year ahead, or prepare when you've already started the year and everything has started to settle. Because the holiday time is full of so much, connection with family, a lot of obligation. It can be a lot of stressful. It can be financially stressful. It can be stressful on all levels. And it's also can be really enjoyable on lots of different levels as well. So why not just enjoy that? And then when everything settles, kickstart, your sort of like inward journey again, and then go, okay, now that I know exactly how I feel and what's happening, I've been able to scan the landscape around me and I know exactly what's going on here. Now I can look ahead with a much clearer vision.
Yeah, look, I totally get that. So let's talk a little bit about the theme for the program. And we've talked about the challenge, and everyone's feeling the challenge. You're feeling it, I'm feeling it. I know many other people around me, I see them feeling it as well. So I know you wanted to pick up on this theme and you wanted to start to address it. Do you want to kick off some of the things that you do to keep cool when you're feeling overwhelmed? I mean, maybe you can talk us through when you're feeling overwhelmed, and then you can talk us through a little bit, one or two of the techniques that you use to make that happen. And the way we're going to run this evening's show is very relaxed. First show of the year, kind of getting to the end of January, but first show of the year. So feel free to ask questions of us as we're talking. Feel free to jump into one of the open seats and share your thoughts on how to keep cool, or some of the frustrations you're experiencing. Be good to hear from you. So Stephanie, over to you.
So I guess the reason that I suggested this to you was because I thought it was very interesting and very ironic that a lot of people who are getting overwhelmed and stressed are actually people in the yogic and spiritual and holistic world, who do a lot of, soulful, inward-looking, stuff. And just to sort of, as a disclaimer, I'm a mad, passionate Kundalini yogi. I absolutely love it. I've been doing yoga for 15 years. I love breath work. I love mantra. I love tuning in for creativity, inspiration, motivation, and momentum. But I think that unless that is bookended with also some very practical day-to-day action, a lot of that breath work and inner work will kind of dissipate and go to waste until you next pick up on that again. So I feel like it needs to be bookended with real-world, 3D reality, practical actions to keep you calm and to stop you from slipping into overwhelm, because there's only so present you can be with yourself and your emotions. And, even as someone who really believes that it's important to be present and go inward, that it's also important to come back out and to be able to function in the world around with the world around you. So
go on.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what do you mean by bookended? I'm intrigued. What do you mean by bookended? I mean, I know that on my bookcase over here, I have bookends. But what do you mean in this context of bookended?
In terms of the full practice, is start with a bit of, meditation, breath work, tune into your creativity, if you're that way inclined, and then finish the process with practical action.
Okay.
So it's almost like two sides of the same coin, really. In trying to achieve a goal, to bring both aspects of that to achieve the goal. So I did want to talk about the sort of breath work and the mantra work as well. And I know that you're incredibly good at sort of preparing yourself for creative thinking, creative thought, and creative approach to solving problems. So I don't know what order you want to talk about that in, because I'm then also going to talk about the day-to-day sort of more practical and the big vision practical actions that we can take. So shall I just kick off with the practical stuff and then we can sort of like add in our other stuff afterwards?
Yeah, look, I'm feeling really practical this year. I can do that. I can do the kind of airy fairy up in the clouds kind of stuff, like so many other people. But I'm feeling very practical this year. Let's just go straight into the practical, pragmatic. How are we going to make this work? And then I'll share with you also some ideas which Daniel shared with us, in case you didn't hear that. And also how I'm looking at, getting things done and maximizing my impact this year so that I can keep as cool as possible. So why don't you kick off with some practical thoughts there?
Okay, cool. So right away, before we do anything else, say you're already feeling overwhelmed or you already know there's quite a lot you want to do this year, giant brain dump. Action number 1. Set the timer for 15 minutes and you brain dump everything that's in your head, life, personal, business, work, career, everything. Because before we start doing any sort of like bigger vision work, we really need to get all the good stuff and the crap out of our head. We need to create a clean slate because a lot of the stuff gets stuck like a record. I was looking for the expression yesterday because I was writing about this. Like the needle on a record gets stuck in a groove and it gets looped and looped and looped. And a lot of these ideas and thoughts, things to do, get looped in our head. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So we end up being a bit of that's why we go loopy, I guess. That's why we get overwhelmed. So the first thing to do, and it doesn't take long, pen, paper, 15 minutes on the timer, brain dump.
Yeah,
action number 1.
I'm going to jump in there, Stephanie, because I'm a big fan of Julia Cameron's work in The Artist's Way, and in particular Morning Pages. And to me, Morning Pages is the archetypal brain dump. 3 pages, longhand, every day for 30 days. Get that stuff out there. Now, you can either set the 15-minute timer and do it that way, or you can do the Julia Cameron way. Either of those will work. I know they will. 3 pages ends up being about 20 minutes by the time you get into it. 15 minutes will work equally well, as long as it is a significant amount of time to get all the stuff out. You're gonna get it out there. And the reason that works, did you ever see Harry Potter, by the way? Did you ever see any of the Harry Potter films?
You reminded me of this a while back.
Did I? God, I say the same thing again and again and again, don't I? Well,
I love it.
Let me try. Let me change it again. Let me not talk about Harry Potter. Let me talk about another analogy.
No, please do. That is such a beautiful analogy. Share it.
Oh God, I love you, Stephanie. So I'll give you the same one again then. Dumbledore's office, there's something called a pensieve. For those of you who haven't seen it, a pensieve, it's a little bit like a baptism font where you baptize a child. And in the films and also in the books, what they do is they take a wand, literally, they stick a wand on the head and they say a spell and they literally pull the thought out of the head and put it into this pensieve. And then actually Harry jumps into a number of the different thoughts. But that's not really what it's about. What it's about is removing the thoughts from your head, because creativity doesn't come from your head. And if there's so much stuff going on in your head, you can't hear it. It's literally, you cannot hear what's going on. That I talk a lot about creativity, the doorway to creativity being intuition, and intuition is more likely to be found here and here. That was my stomach, by the way. Heart and stomach. Vincent van Gogh said, I paint with my heart and my soul, and in the process I lost my mind. Well, actually, if you really, really think about that, that's what a brain dump is. Lose your mind, get all the stuff out there, empty it out. And that is the only way actually for your mind to be quiet enough for it to hear what's going on in the rest of your body. So totally agree with that one. I think that's a really good one. And I do something very similar every morning to get my head unblocked. So I'm with you. All right, let's move on then.
So the next task are then divided into what I call, and I've made notes here so I don't miss anything out, your big picture vision and your daily actions. Can I just ask you, am I echoing? Because I can hear an echo. Can you hear an echo on your end?
No, I'm pretty good. I mean, look, if you want to reboot your
Okay.
page, we're still on
No,
we're still
no,
on
that's
Blab
fine. That's
Beta.
fine.
I'll just
I can
blab for 5 minutes, if you want to, reboot.
I can just ignore myself. Don't worry. Okay, and then so in terms of the big picture vision, it's really important to go. Okay, give yourself a sort of time frame. Now, it's really sort of a lot of people say, "What's your 3 and 5 year vision?" But that is so lofty and that is so big. So I would bring it down to what is your 6-month or 12-month vision? So where do you want to be in life and business in 6 months or 12 months? So you can see you don't have to do this in January. You can do this anytime. You can begin your year anytime you want. If you're watching this in February, March, April, begin whenever you want to. And so what is your big picture vision in life and business? And write that in a very sort of short, succinct paragraph. It's this big picture, something that excites you so much. It's a sentence, maybe it's up to 500 words, but keep it quite inspirational and large and not too prescriptive, so that you can allow for it to unfold in any way that it unfolds during the course of that time period. So that's action number 2.
Okay, I'm loving that one.
Okay.
Let me comment on that one as well. I love the idea of really focusing on a manageable timescale. So often we go, "I'm going to change the world." Well, yeah, some people have changed the world, and many people would like to change the world. But what I observe is you can't change the world. You can only change your world. And I'm reminded of I was at a conference. In fact, I was talking at a conference and facilitating a collaborative painting last Sunday in Zurich at a convention called the Lifestyle Design Convention, run by the In Out movement, which is a very cool group of people, and they've just started this movement, and they're going to be in Poland, Warsaw in May. Anyway, one of the coaches who was there is an American guy called John P. Morgan, very, very smart guy. And I really appreciated his work, and he was brilliant on stage, and he was hilarious. Actually, there was one moment partway through his main piece where he's there up on stage, and suddenly the organizer realizes his flies are undone. And he's been on the stage for 15 minutes by this stage, right? And he realizes, the organizer realizes his flies are undone. So the organizer literally goes to the back of, right, not in front of him, but just behind the audience. And he goes like that, as in, pull up your zip. So he goes, shit, my fly's undone, excuse my French. And then he goes, who noticed that my flyers are undone? Right? and so I didn't notice, but about 15 people in the room put their hands up, and then he goes, "Fuck you," as in, you didn't tell me. Who thought about telling me? Fuck you as well. And he goes, and this is it. This is it, because this is how you live your life. You live your life not doing what you ought to do. You know that you ought to have told me that my flyers are undone. And what stopped you from doing that? You thought you were being nice and you weren't going to embarrass me, but I'm being filmed. I'm on camera at the moment and my flyers are undone and you didn't tell me. So fuck you. But it was so brilliantly put. And then later in his talk, he said, forget the big picture. He said, what are you going to create this year? Just think about what you're going to create this year. And I totally get that. Don't think about, how am I going to change the world? What's my big mission? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Just start with something small, manageable and easy. So I love that idea. 6 month, idea. Where are you going to get to in 6 months? Loving it.
So action number 1 was to do a brain dump. Action number 2 was to create a 6 or 12 month goal, where you want to be or what you want to have done by your 6 or 12 months. Action number 3 is to just step back a bit from that vision and understand why. Really understand why you want to do that. And I just attended Nisha Moodley's Envision workshop, and she put it really beautifully. And she put, she has 2 columns on her worksheet, and they're entitled "Why for Me" and "Why for the World." So it's about your inner work and also your outward contribution. And that, for me, although I work in those terms, it was such a beautiful way to phrase it that I'd like to share it, I think, from now on. Why for me and why for the world? Beautiful. And just spend, again, it doesn't have to be a long time. It's 10 to 15-minute brain dump, because whatever really comes to the surface of your mind, tip of the tongue, straight away, is usually the truth. And so whatever comes to you as you're asking, why do I want to do this for me? And why do I want to do this for the world? Is usually your truthful answer. And then you just have clarity about what you're going to get out of it, and also what your contribution is to the world around you. And those are 2 sides of the same coin, again, which I think are really important for us in our life and business to have a lot more purpose and meaning in our work.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one as well. Interesting thought. Why is it going to work for me, and why is it going to work for the world? Actually, I do an exercise in my corporate workshops with my clients, and I do something very similar. I have 2 flip charts, one on each side of the room, and I ask the question, why are you here? And they go, what? I said, why are you here? What do you mean, why are we here? No, why are you here? And of course, there's many different levels to that question, right? Why are you here? Well, because I was told to be here today. Okay, so why are you here? Well, because I need to earn a salary. Oh, okay. So why are you here? And we go down, right? And we end up with a list, and there are always 2 lists, right? So there's the list that you think your boss wants to hear, right? Mm-hmm. And there's the list that you actually give a shit about, right? So the list that you think your boss wants to hear is things like, to achieve the vision of the company, to run the business, to be effective, to achieve the strategy, to do all these things. And then at some point you do get to actually to have an impact. And then you get onto the personal ones, which are things like, because I actually care about what I do. I actually like the people I work with. I actually like coming to work. And it suddenly flips. The deeper you go into this, then the more you ask the question, the deeper you go into this. And you can actually get some quite profound answers. And what I say at the end of it, you go all the way down the business answers and the personal answers. And I say, look, if you can't find yourself in the business, forget it, leave. No matter how cynical you are about the why for the business, if you can't find yourself in the business, if you can't align the personal why with the business why, forget it. You need to quit. So I think why is one of the most powerful questions. Why are you doing it for you? Why are you doing it for the world? Because, the business thing is just, when you're in a corporation, they're going to think about the business. But ultimately, of course, the business is a fractal of the world, and a fractal of the problems that the world faces. And so the why is actually aligned. And what's very interesting, and I think you'll find this intriguing, is that when you really, really get deeply into it and they start to get the idea of what's going on, they start actually to come up with things about why their company is going to impact the world. And that's what genuinely gets them excited. Even some of the most corporate companies in the world that you'd think, they're not going to say that. They go, well, we actually want to make a difference in people's lives. Really? That's why you're here? Okay, how are you going to do that? And so I totally get that kind of 2-column approach. I think it's genius, and I've seen it work, and I've seen organizations or teams literally transform through asking themselves that question, because they suddenly realize 2 things. One, they realize that actually they all share the same kind of why, which is not to make money, and it's not to achieve a business strategy. It's to do something greater. And they're like, really? You want to do that too? Yeah. And the second thing I observe is that on the individual level, they suddenly go, oh yeah, I need to be aligned, and I'm not. And so this whole thing about the work-life balance, I think it's bullshit. Excuse my French. Work-life balance, you can't balance of work and life, all you can do is integrate the two together, get them completely aligned. It's not about balance. Make sure that you do something you love, because otherwise you're not going to get out of bed each morning and do what you love. So there's me rambling on about your that suggestion, and I love it. I think it's a really good idea, and I've seen it practically work. So I'm fully behind you on that one.
It's amazing, because when I was doing a lot of one-on-one business and startup coaching, I noticed that when there was a disconnect or, a lot in business, it was because the business, not necessarily what they were doing, but the why and the how wasn't aligned with their passion, purpose, and vision. So exactly what you're saying, that there needs to be this really, really beautiful alignment there for everything in life and business to flow. And also, I think it's really clever of you to begin your workshops with calling them out on, hey, buddies, like, I know that you've been sent here by your bosses. That is really smart, and to bring them in, to engage them, because there's no reason why on any corporate workshop, you can't get something out of it personally, and then be fired up enough to take that back, not just to the business, but just to the 4 or 5 people you work with on a daily basis. Yeah. That's really powerful. And I really admire you for that. I think that's really awesome. Only one other trainer has ever, one trainer in my sort of corporate workshop career has ever done that. And I thought that was really smart as well. So good one.
Thank you. Look,
I think that's brilliant.
I think the world needs it, and individuals need it. You talk about the freedom lifestyle, and the freedom lifestyle is to leave the business and go and create your freedom lifestyle. The world needs that. The world needs people within organizations as well to find their own freedom and their own expression. Because actually, if you look back at that column idea that you just talked about a couple of minutes ago, which is, why for me, why for the world? The world has some major problems, doesn't it? Or not the world, actually humanity. There's conflict.
People have problems.
There's climate change. All of these things are impacting humanity, far greater than ever. And who's going to tackle them? Well, actually, organizations ultimately are going to need to tackle them. So my view is that we need to do both. We need to have more entrepreneurs who are coming up with great ideas, living the freedom lifestyle, having an impact. But also we need to have more people within businesses, entrepreneurs, if you like, but really aware people who find their love within the organization as well. And when they find it in the organization, they transform the organization, or they transform their little bit of the organization. And that's enough, because the more people in organizations who transform just that little corner of the organization, the more we transform the organization. After all, an organization is just a collection of individuals. And it's the collective resonance of those individuals. And of course, senior management has a greater impact than let's say the assistant at the bottom of the organization. But the assistant at the bottom of the organization, she may perceive she's at the bottom, but she may have more power than she realizes. So where am I going with this? I think both are massively.
So feeling empowered in whatever role you're in, and understanding what you can bring to both your business, your company, your work, and also the people around you on a micro and a macro level.
Yeah, agreed. So let's
okay, so just to recap, action 1 is to do the big brain dump to clear your mind. Action number 2 is to define and articulate your 6 or 12-month goal. Action number 3 is to understand why for you and why for your world, why for the world, your world. And action number 4 is to then get a little bit practical and go, okay, what are the 5 to 10 things I want to achieve within this time frame in my life and business? So it can be projects, it can be parts of projects, it can be getting fit, it can be losing 10 pounds, it can be whatever it is. So for example, on of my 5 to 10, actually I think I came up with 8. One of them is to complete my Kundalini yoga teacher training this year. And another one is a bigger one, which is to write another book. So they can be of any size you like, but just to get really clear on what are the core projects or achievements you want to have completed or started within this time frame.
Yeah, no, I like that. And one of the things I observe when I work with my clients and I'm running workshops, even last week I was running a workshop with 6 CEOs, and the subject of prioritization seems to be coming up again and again and again and again and again. And I was talking to the division head in a large NGO only today, and prioritization came up again and again and again. And it's going to come up in the next workshop I run as well. How do you choose the things which are going to have most impact and then discipline yourselves to do them? And I think that's a really interesting challenge. And I like the idea of just picking a small number, because, we can get our head around a small number. We can get our head around 4. We can get our head around 5, 6. But what we all try and do is about 50. And, that's not going to be successful. So, Yusuf, I see that you're trying to jump in at the moment. We're just in the middle of a discussion here, and maybe we'll bring you in a minute. Maybe you can just, it's good to see you here, and feel free to add a comment in the right-hand column so that we know what you want to talk about. So we're talking about how to keep cool when you're overwhelmed. And I'm joined today by the one and only Stephanie Holland, who is sunning herself, or going to be sunning herself possibly today in the Gold Coast in Australia. Me, Alex Inchbald. I'm based in the Alps in France, and had the opportunity to even go up to the Alps. And I have to tell you, they are looking stunning, 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 covered in beautiful white snow. So both of us get to be in beautiful parts of the world. And we're talking today about how to keep cool when you're overwhelmed. So we've gone through the first 4 techniques, or 5 techniques, I think we're up to. Let's kick on in the last 20 minutes or so. And I want to hear the final nuggets you have for us.
Okay, so there's a couple more things to do. So we can speed up a little bit maybe. So the next thing, once you've got your 5 to 10 projects or achievements you want to achieve over the next 6 or 12 months, then it's really important to schedule a planning session for each one. 1 hour in your calendar, schedule a time to sit down and ask, okay, what am I going to do to achieve this goal? And that's where I think people who end up achieving their goals split off from the people who don't, and they just sort of drop off as resolutions. They sit down and they plan, whether it's in their head or preferably on a piece of paper. Okay, if I'm going to write a book, then this is what I'm going to need to do to write that book. And during that planning session, it might be, okay, so every Sunday for this year, I'm going to write 2,000 words towards my book. So it doesn't have to be big and lofty. Again, it can be very, very practical, action-oriented scheduling. But you first need to schedule 1 hour in your calendar for each project or goal.
Nice.
And define how you're going to achieve it or tackle it over the next 6 months or 12 months.
Yeah, let me share a story based on that. Very quick story. A friend of mine, a very good friend, had a brilliant idea for a business. In fact, he had a brilliant idea for 2 businesses, and they sat on the shelf for 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 years. And I helped him with the vision. I helped him with the strategy. And I'm like, Steve, get on and do it. What are you doing? This is a great idea. Just get out there and do it. And then finally, his partner helps him write the business projections. And you'll see where I'm going with this one in a second. So she spends a lot of time putting the business projections together. And there are really clear objectives in there. Very specific objectives. Now, they happen to be financial objectives, but quite frankly, they could be the 2,000 words that you just mentioned, Stephanie. They could be the get up and do something different. It could be anything. But the intention of, or the creation of the intention seems to have a magical impact. So he was messing around, not generating any revenue at all. And business projections in place, suddenly clients pop up. And suddenly he has hundreds of thousands in revenue coming in. How does that work? So here's my perspective on it without getting too magical and mystical. I genuinely believe that having clarity over a number seems to make that happen. And I used to do it when I used to have my communications business. The funniest thing is my co-partner used to say to me, Tony used to say, you know what, business projections for a communications agency, they never work because you can never predict what a client's going to do. And he's right and he's wrong. We used to do it at the end of the third quarter. So end of September, beginning of October, you'd say, look, what are your projections to the end of the year? Just so I've got a feel for, how much revenue we're going to generate for the year. Do you know what? Every time I did it, I got the projection right. But the funniest thing is that I got the projects that I thought they'd come from totally wrong. Mm-hmm. So projects disappeared and new projects came in and I always hit the numbers. So there is something about putting an intention out there, but a really clear intention that this is how I'm going to measure it, that does, and I totally agree with you, has a magical effect somehow.
That's what magic is. Magic is somehow.
That's magic. So I've been talking far too much. Let's speed up.
No, not at all. But to your point, it's very unlikely that we're going to be able to achieve these exact 8 to 10 goals over the time period. But what this does is what you just talked about is it unlocks, it sets in motion a chain of events that kickstarts momentum. And then again, and we've talked about this in another Blab show, it manipulates the quantum field around you to help you achieve your overarching goal in any way, shape or form possible. Yep. So chances are one project will be replaced by another, but regardless, the next practical task when we've defined the goals and when we've scheduled a planning session and decided what needs to be done, is that then we plot all those projects over a much longer time period. Because what happens is we always overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can achieve if we plan it properly in 3 years' time. So what we can do is, and this is just a sort of an optional suggestion, is to actually plot those projects over a 3-year time frame. Because 8 to 10 goals and projects is an awful lot of projects. I mean, you're lucky if you're going to do one personal project or goal for the year and one business project or goal really well for the year. If we're talking about what you talked about before, which is focus, to get really focused on one thing and to really master and produce something absolutely incredible, usually it's one, maybe, 2 or 3 if you're a massive focused overachiever like Carl Jung or someone like that who built himself a brick tower in the forest, and he used to go and do something that what Cal Newport calls deep work. The majority of us don't really do deep work because we're so distracted. So with our fragmented attention spans, it's, we're lucky if we're going to be able to achieve 1 or 2 of those personal and business or work career goals. So it's really important just to spread it out, and that will remove a lot of overwhelm instantly because you've taken the pressure off the next 12 months.
Now, I think here.
So that's an optional idea.
I think you're hitting on something very powerful here, Stephanie, because when I look at, take last year for me, year before I was totally focused. I was like, I'm setting up the company, totally focused. This is what I'm doing. And I'm gonna take this one client and I'm gonna grow this client. And I hit my same revenue target for the year before. Right? And it was significant. Right? So the same salary I was earning the year before, which was a lot of money, I hit it in my first year of business. So I thought, great, done it. Fantastic. This is easy.
That's incredible.
I can't believe I hadn't set up my own business before. And then last year, I went, right, well, done that. So what other projects could I throw into the mix? And I threw an NGO, a couple of NGOs into the mix. I threw an offline program. In fact, three programs. One long a 1 day program, a 1 week program, and a 1 hour program into the mix. Too much, just too much. And I didn't hit my revenue targets at all last year. In fact, I missed them totally. And it was because I just had too much on. And this year I've said one project, one big project. That's what I'm focusing on. And
you were spot on with the one client, and it reminds me of what Tara Gentile taught me a couple of years ago when I was following her newsletter, and what she talks about a lot with what she's trademarked as the quiet power strategy, and that is to focus on filling a living room before you focus on filling a stadium. And I think that's what a lot of newbie business people and sort of new fledgling entrepreneurs kind of miss the point on. They try to go large before they've done something really well small. And I think that leads to a lot of burnout and sort of failed projects.
Totally. And look, let me tell you that, you know, having refocused this year and said, one project, I'm going to do this project brilliantly, clients are already flowing in. It's miraculous.
Yeah, and that's not to say we can't have some side projects as well, because, you know, you and I collaborating on this blab chat once a week, it doesn't mean, you know, just to clarify for everyone listening, it doesn't mean focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else, because there are a lot of other little things that are going to build towards helping you create momentum around this project. So just to clarify, we're not talking about exclusively focusing on one thing at the detriment of anything else.
Sure, but there is a choice in here, and you know, this is an interesting discussion because there is a choice. And look, I've made my choice, and you know, this year I'm focused. You know, my main focus is creative leadership partners. It's about bringing creativity to big businesses, because those big organizations have big challenges, and if you address the challenges effectively, you address some of the world's biggest challenges. That's my view, and that starts with individuals. So I'm really clear that's my focus for this year. It doesn't preclude that if other things come up, I ignore them, but I'm really clear on what my focus is, and that's already having impact. I can see that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I'll just skip through the last two actions. So we're moving now from big picture vision, and I'll just recap on that. It was to do a 15-minute brain dump.
Yep.
It was to define your big vision for 6 to 12 months. It was to define why for you and why for the world. It was to write down your 5 to 10 life and business goals or projects that you want to achieve within that time frame. It was to plot those 5 to 10 goals over a 3-year time frame to get more realistic about what you can achieve within a year. And now it's about daily actions. And I would say the number one thing that has changed my world, my life, and my business is sitting down the night before at the end of my work day and defining what is the one task or action I can do tomorrow in my life, and the single task and action I can do tomorrow in my business that will move me forward towards both goals. That, in the world of productivity, is called eating the big ugly frog. And it's because it's usually a fairly sizable task and you don't really want to do it. So a lot of us procrastinate and leave it to the end of the day when we have less energy, less enthusiasm, and our brain cells are just So it's about eating the big ugly, I think maybe even hairy frog, first thing in the morning, before you check email, before you do anything else, that you're absolutely focused. And often what you'll find is you'll finish that big business career-changing task by 11 a.m. and then you have the rest of the day to faff around or do what you want or do other tasks on your to-do list.
Yeah, look, that's very wise. And I've observed this as well in my life when I do pick the thing which is going to have most impact, and I pick it the night before and I say, I'm going to do that one thing. And when I do that, and as you say, get it done by 11 o'clock, what actually I observe is it releases enormous amounts of energy. And those enormous amounts of energy can then be applied to other tasks. And so what I've done, just to build on that, is in fact what I'm doing now is 6 tasks a week. In fact, 6 conversations a week. I see it more as a conversation than a task, because, you know, everything that we do these days is with somebody else. How many things are not related to somebody else? Almost nothing. You know, there's always, you know, every task, you're always delivering it to somebody. So I now look at what are the 6 conversations I'm going to have every week. 7 days in a week, there's a day off. So what are the 6 conversations I'm going to have? And some of those conversations are significant. They're big. And how often do we procrastinate over them? How often do we push a task or a person that we need to speak to the next day, and then accidentally we push it to the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day? You know, we all do that, don't we? It's not just me, right? We all end up doing that. And so this simple technique, I love it. Identify a task the night before. One task, do it first thing in the morning. Do it.
Yeah. One for your life and one for your business, because you might have a fitness goal that you're aligning with writing a book goal, for example. So one for each is fantastic. And then the final thing is to identify your distractions, because they're unique. Some are the same for us all and some are unique to us all, and remove them. And, you know, a lot of people make excuses. It's up to us to take responsibility to remove distractions and focus. No one else can do that for us. So we need to be really honest and clear about what are they? Where am I distracted? You know, if you're jumping onto Facebook every time you get a ping, stop your notifications. And there's actually a Chrome extension called Facebook Eradicator, which replaces your news feed with an inspirational quote. So if you get sucked into the vortex of Facebook every time you follow a Facebook link from a friend, maybe you need to add the Google Chrome extension. So identify your distractions, brainstorm, and do not stop until you find ways to remove them. The onus is on you.
Yeah, again, a great one. You know, if I go back to Stephen Covey's time prioritization matrix, and I'm sure you know this, Steph, but I'm going to draw it anyway because I think it's brilliant. This is his, you know, simple matrix, 4 boxes. Vertical axis is about value. Horizontal axis is about time. So that would make everything at this end here urgent and up here valuable, which would mean that this box here is the most important. This is the second most important because it's valuable but not urgent. Can't draw backwards. This is the third most important. And this is the fourth most important. Yeah. Now, what he says, he goes on to say, is kill this. Kill 3 and 4. Forget anything that's not valuable. Just get rid of it. And those are things like, as you say, Facebook, you know, being cool about something that's not relevant, emails that distract you, you know, colleagues turning up that are not relevant, you know, they're asking things that, you know, are not your focus. Remove them. Totally agree with you. Take the things out which are distracting you. Take the things out which aren't having impact. Now, just going back to this, the challenge is to work out what is having most impact. What is having most impact? And the way to do that is to understand your life purpose. Why are you here? Which is one of the steps that you asked in the process. Why? And when you understand the why, you can understand how to focus. So what I tell my clients is remove the distractions, exactly as you're saying. Focus on the impact. And then, do you know the other thing I've done? And actually, it wasn't me who said this, is we take out the horizontal line, right? And the horizontal line is time. When you take out time from the equation, this is a really interesting one. You stop saying, I'm busy. You stop saying, I've got no time. You stop saying, I can't do this because I've got too many things on. You stop saying, making those excuses. You literally remove time from your lexicon. Miracles happen. Miracles happen. It is the funniest thing in the world. Suddenly you have all the time in the world because you don't talk about time anymore. And that's,
you shift, you alter your space-time reality.
You alter the field around you. You alter your reality, and suddenly miracles happen. So to bring it back to the point that you're making, remove the distractions, but then remove time. Time is a distraction. Take it out. Take it out of the equation. It's a distraction because you just go, I don't have enough time. How often do you get irritable when you don't have enough time? How often do you get frustrated when you don't have enough time? Our relation with time, our relationship with time is very, very poor. Time is a massive distraction. I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time.
I know, and you know what? The ironic thing is that the way that I remove time from the equation is by using a stopwatch. So I use the Pomodoro method, and I set my timer for 25 minutes, and then I work. I just get lost in that period of time. I just get immersed in what I'm doing. The timer goes off. I take a 5-minute break, and then I do it again 3 times, and that is one session. And then I take a longer break, and I do that twice a day, and that's how I work. I do 2 of those a day, and that's it.
Cool.
And that's how, funnily enough, I've been able to eradicate time from the equation, is by setting a stop clock and getting lost in that time. Nice. And then outside of those 2 sessions, I play. That's my play time. And unfortunately, well, not fortunately, well, fortunately maybe, I'm a real geek and a real nerd. So what I consider play is studying, learning, and reading about the things I'm interested in. So I read a lot of nonfiction. So the afternoons, I'm often reading and studying a lot of nonfiction or my online courses. So there you go. That's how I eradicate time.
Nice. So look, we're running into the last couple of minutes of the show, Steph, and you know, I'd love for you to run through your steps that you shared with us just one last time. Yeah. So we've really got those lodged in our mind. So in the last minute, can you just run us through them?
Yes. Okay. So step 1, if I can remember everything, is to do a 15-minute brain dump. Step 2 is to define your 6 or 12-month vision. Where do you want to be in 6 or 12 months' time? Step 3 is why. Why is this vision important to you? Why for you and why for the world? Step 5. Am I on step 5?
Step 4.
Yes. Step 4. Define the 5 to 10 goals and achievements you want to create and achieve in the next 6 to 10 months that will feed into that overarching vision. Step 5, create a planning, schedule a 1-hour planning session for each of those 5 to 10 goals or achievements. Step 6 is to plot those goals or achievements over a 3-year time frame. So fire up a Google Docs or a spreadsheet, create a 3-year calendar, and plot them over 3 years. Step 6 is to take it into daily action. The night before, define the one biggest, big ugly frog, the biggest life or business or career shifting action or task you need to do the very next day. And step 7 is to remove your distractions. Identify and remove your distractions.
That's great advice. Really wise, Stephanie. It's so wonderful to see you again this year.
Thank you.
To hear your wisdom, you know. So we've been talking today about how to keep cool when you're feeling overwhelmed. And so many of us, as we said at the beginning, are feeling overwhelmed, have been feeling overwhelmed, and will probably continue to feel overwhelmed. And so those 7 steps, I think, are genius. If you'd like to hear them again, well, watch the replay.
Because I don't think I can remember them. I keep having to look at my notes. There's a lot there. Yeah.
If you'd like to hear them again, watch the replay. We're coming to the end of the show. Stephanie, is there any other comments, any other thoughts that you wanted to share with us at this moment?
Yeah, sort of, you know, when it comes to overwhelm, I like sort of imagining myself as an 80-year-old woman or maybe older, you know, in my twilight years. And I ask myself, you know, what do I wish I would have done at this point in time? You know, and then I'm much more easily to look at it from a bigger picture and say, well, maybe I just need to back off for a bit. Maybe I just need to go inward for a while and think about this. Maybe I need to let go of this project, or maybe I do need to push on. So I like the twilight test, really, to ask myself, you know, what when I'm in my twilight years, looking back on this period of time and this decision or this overwhelm, that I'm experiencing and facing, what will I wish I would have done in this moment? And that really helps a lot to dissipate a lot of the anguish and anxiety, because we get overwhelmed and anxious by the silliest of things sometimes. And it's only by stepping back from that and maybe sort of like catapulting ourselves in the future and looking back that we can actually dissipate that.
Very wise. Very wise. Step out into the future. Imagine where you're going to be. Step out into that future.
Shift your time-space reality and step into the future.
Oh, well,
that's basically the summary of our advice today.
We're going to get deep today. You know, shifting time and space. And we so avoided, you know, even mentioning the S word. We mentioned magic once or twice, but that was mainly Harry Potter, right? And we didn't have to mention the S word at all. But, you know, there is a deeply profound wisdom behind everything that you've said today, and I really appreciate it, and I think it's great advice. So if you missed the full show, pop back and watch the replay again. The 7 steps to keep yourself cool when you are feeling overwhelmed, as we all are at the beginning of this year. You know, it may be Mercury retrograde, but it seems to be the fastest Mercury retrograde I've ever seen. I'm wondering what's going to happen next Wednesday when it starts going direct. Are things just going to speed up even more than they are now? Well, if they do, you'll know what to do. Watch this replay, implement the 7 steps that Stephanie has just outlined. I think they're brilliant. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, Stephanie, as ever.
You too, Alex.
Stephanie Holland, the founder of the Freedom Philosophy, who's been joining us today from the Gold Coast in Australia and sharing her wisdom about how to keep cool when you're feeling overwhelmed. You've been listening to the Steph and Alex Show. My name's Alex Inchbald. I'm a creative artist, or extreme artist, and creative mentor. I work with some of the world's leading organizations to help them unlock their creativity and tackle the biggest challenges. If you'd like to find out more about me, pop on to my website, alexinchbald.com, where you'll find some free downloads and some interesting introductory offers to help you unleash your creativity. Or if you want to find out more about the Freedom Philosophy, which is an amazing program to build your own lifestyle and free lifestyle, go to the freedomphilosophy.com. And at that moment, I lose my co-host. So I don't know what that signifies, but there we go. It's been a genuine pleasure to be talking to you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.